So this is my Delta portable planer. Usually when I'm going to use it, I'll clamp it down to a bench with some C-clamps, run a bunch of boards through and put it away. It's just got a few adjustments on it. It's got a cutting head lock here that actually locks the head in place. And this is the cutting head adjustment, height adjustment. And each revolution, a full revolution, is 3/32 of an inch of raising or lowering the cutting head. And I found the way I use it with the boards, I'm using kind of wide boards, 8 to 10, 11 inch. I found that half a revolution is about the most I want to run through the machine at a time, because without overloading the motor. So I'll just do a half a turn. Sometimes when I approach the thickness I'm wanting, or I'm near the end and I'm just wanting to clean up the boards, I'll just do a quarter turn and lock the head. And that's really the only time I lock the head, is when I'm down to the thickness I want to maintain. So I'll lock the head so it can't shift around, because you will notice when you're running it, the vibration will, this handle will kind of slowly move around. But I like to keep it unlocked in case at first, because sometimes there'll be a fat spot in the board where it went through the sawmill, and maybe, it can be surprisingly a lot fatter. And if you're running it through the planer and it gets to that point, it can quickly bog down the motor before you can get to the switch to shut it off. And even if you shut it off, it's got a lot of inertia, and it's still gonna probably damage the machine. So it's real important that you make sure that you don't overload the machine by, you put a board in there and first without the machine on, and you slide the board back and forth until you start to feel, and you lower the cutting head until you start to feel just a little drag on the wheels. And at that point, you turn the machine on and run all the wood through it, and make sure you don't have any fat pieces in the wood. And then you just slowly increment the lower the head, like I said, a quarter turn at a time, until you get to the thickness that you want. And so if you're doing multiple pieces of wood and you want them all to be the same thickness, then you'd lock the head and run all the wood through, so you maintain the thickness. But then a lot of times I don't really care from one board to the other. If I'm using it for a different project or something like that, I don't really care so much about the thickness. And there is a thickness indicator here, but it has such a parallax error that it's really not usable. I've never actually used it. But it's there. It has a tool with it that came with it. This is the tool for changing the blades. I've just used it a few times. I've had the machine about 22 years and changed the blades twice maybe. It's time to get another set in there, but I'm still going to work with these as long as I can. They're still cutting. They just have some nicks in it. But if I really care about measuring the thickness of the wood, I'll use some calipers to know exactly what I'm dealing with. Most of the time it doesn't really matter, but when it does matter, then I use something that's accurate to measure it. So I wanted to stop here and show the difference. This is, every time I run the board through the planer, this is the amount of sawdust that I'm cutting off.